And like I said, sometimes we will use y, sometimes we will use f of x. So f of x equal a negative 1000 plus 30x. So this is also called the equation of a function. Another way that we can use to represent a function is to actually use the graph. Typically, when you write a graph, it's going to have two axes, the x-axis and the y-axis, or the f of x-axis. So the graph is actually a collection of the x and y value that satisfy the equation here. For example, if my x is 0, you can see that when my x is 0, my profit is going to be negative 1000. If my x is 1, so I'm basically plotting a different point here. If my x is 1, I'm gonna be able to sell one notebook. So my y value or my profit or loss value is gonna be negative 970. And you can continue doing this, and you'll see that your graph is gonna fall into it's gonna be a straight line. Let's say it's gonna look like that. In reality, you're not going to be able to sell a negative number of notebook, but for just for the sake of plotting this graph, let me actually draw just the whole straight line. So this is basically going to be the graph of my function. So it's basically another representation of the same thing. So you can represent a function as an equation, or you can represent it as a graph. Now there is a test, it's called a vertical line test. You can use this thing to tell whether the curve that you are looking at is the graph of a function or not. So I'm just gonna make a quick example. The vertical line test is basically saying that if I draw a vertical line and whatever vertical line that I draw, it intersects my graph at only once, then that's gonna be a graph of a function, because that's kind of mean for each value of x, you get exactly one value of y. However, if you can draw a vertical line that intersects the graph more than once, even though it's just one line, so maybe some line you intersect the graph once, but as long as there is just one line that intersects the graph more than once, that means there is a value of x that produces many value of y. That thing is not going to be the graph of a function. So this is not a function. So that's what the vertical line test is about. The domain of a function is the set of all allowable x value. The range of a function is the set of all possible y value as x varies over the domain. So if I want to make the notebook example that we had a while ago more complete, I can actually just add the domain. I'm just going to say that, well, because the number of notebooks that I sold is going to have to be positive, so my x is going to be bigger than 0. So sometimes the domain is going to restrict the possible value of x. Sometimes in reality, because when your x just cannot take all values, so you need to have this domain thing just to scope the your possible value of x. In this case, if I were to plot the graph with this domain, I'm gonna get what we see earlier. It's just gonna be the half when x is bigger than 0. For the next example, I like to see if life insurance is a if the life insurance policy, the cost of that, is a function of age. So what is this asking anyway? So it's asking if life insurance policy cost is a function of age. So it kind of means, does the cost of the life insurance depends on how old you are or not? it would make sense to think so. So I'm just gonna Google that real quick. Let's see, life insurance cost by age. Okay, voila. So I'm just gonna take this example. You can kind of see the older you are, the higher the cost of life insurance because, well, if probably if for if the older you are, the more likely that you want to live as long as when you are younger. So let's just put it that way. But you can kind of also see that age is not the only factor. Whether or not you smoke is also another indicator of how much your life insurance is gonna cost. Your gender is also another indicator of how much your life insurance is gonna cost. Typically, a woman will live longer than a man, so their life insurance cost is usually lower than us. And you can kind of see there are also if you have a disease, then it's likely that your life insurance is gonna cost more than a healthy person. So in a way, life insurance policy cost kind of depends on age. So it is a function of age, but it's not entirely depending on the age. So to answer this one, I'm just gonna say partially yes. So in a way, life insurance policy cost is a function of age, but it's not age is not the only factor in determining the cost of life insurance policy. And just so you know, by the way, you'll see this later, but typically when you have to model this kind of thing, when one quantities depends on many other quantities, the cost of life insurance depends on many factors. It depends on your age, whether you smoke, what is your gender, your well-being in general. So it's basically called a function of multivariable. Okay, so here we go.